Today is a very good day indeed, for the bountiful glory of the God Emperor of mankind and his little mechanical buddy Belisarius Cawl has given unto us a bounty of the most epic and descendant of justice. After years upon years of waiting, we finally not only have a good Warhammer 40k game, we have a groin-grabbingly transcendent first-person shooter Warhammer 40k game, no less. Today, I'm going to be doing a spoiler-free review to tell you all the basics of this most excellent of games. Later this year, I will do a substantially deeper dive into the full story and mechanics of Necromunda, Hired Gun. Full disclosure, I paid $30 to the developers, and in exchange, they gave me this game. So all the opinions expressed herein are my own, and I'm not being paid to gush after playing this game for 5 bloody minutes. Necromunda, Hired Gun was developed by Strumon Studio, more on them later, and was published in the space year 2021 for a wide variety of platforms, such as the Xbox One, PS5, and thankfully, PC. It is a first-person shooter slash RPG. And while the RPG elements are kind of limited, they are there, and there is a great amount of character interaction in addition to the killin'. The game features a good mix of old school and new school mechanics. You have some titty-fall styled wall running, which is cool, but I generally prefer the double jump and the epic grappling hook to get around. You have old school non-regenerative health that requires you to either have a med pack, or you have to kill a certain number of enemies to get a little bit of health back. Our bounty killer here took a page from Kyle Katarn's book and has a shield system that requires pickups to refill. Be wary though, your foes will sometimes have them as well. The weapons have RPG stylings. You will pick up some from, thankfully, non-loot box chests and from your local shop. You can upgrade them at the Tech Priest, and since this game is thankfully European rock hard, you would better spend those credits wisely when you both buy and upgrade your shooters. Otherwise, the game can be Hired Gun Prepare to Die edition. Your bounty killer is also a cyber warrior. You can do the normal stuff like get more health and energy, but this game also requires you to master these special moves, like energy blasts and roid rampages that allows you to keep the numerous powerful enemies at bay. Make sure you choose these upgrades very wisely, otherwise your game will get a bit, shall we say, grimdark. You then have your loyal robot dog, and the doggo is a good boy indeed, as he rips and tears huge guts from your foes. You can upgrade your robot dog for more killing goodness, but I found myself never really needing to use him, and opportunities to use him are a bit rare as you need to always keep moving since the enemy likes to swarm you, and in the time it takes to get Robo-Dog to sick him, you get hundreds of bullets sicked on your head. The game does feature glory kills, but thankfully these actually serve a greater purpose than padding out the gameplay. Since this game is rock hard, there are some enemies that you need to one-hit kill, and the glory kill provides this, and despite some janky animations here and there, these glory kills look damn good, with some being downright beautiful. This game has been compared to the likes of Doom Eternal, and I'm happy to say that it's not in any way similar to that game. There are very few arenas when you fight throughout the levels, and there are numerous levels to the levels, and you get to really enjoy the movement system of wall running, double jumping, and grappling, and you do this across impressively designed and impressively laid out levels. The game is not just a linear series of levels one after the other either. Instead, you have that all-important post-mission cooldown, and after each mission you return to the game's hub of Martyr's End. Here is where you will talk to characters and visit shops. You have the weapons and armor shop, and epically the weapons dealer mentions Orlanius Pearson. You have the back alley doc that upgrades your augmentics and your robot dog. He will have some funny lines here and there, and then there is the Artificer, an absolutely epic looking tech priest that calls you Meatbag. All upgrades and weapons are purchased with Imperial credits. You earn creds during missions and for their successful completion. After each mission, you pick out what loot you want to keep, and the rest is auto-sold. One humorous and rage-inducing due to how realistic it is element to the looting, at the end of each mission, the Imperium takes a substantial cut in taxes. Hey, I thought I played games to get away from real life. It is a nice touch, as despite you being a stone-cold bastard, you are still a loyal son of the Emperor. In fact, everybody in the Underhive is a loyal subject of the Imperium of Man. The inventory system, while streamlined to the point of convenience, can be a little obtuse at times. You cannot just open up an inventory screen during gameplay to see what you have. You can only see your inventory at the beginning and ending of each level and at the shops. All other times, it will be completely and totally unavailable. This makes sense to a degree, as you won't really need it most of the time. With that in mind, during levels, you can pick up and equip new weapons, but if you just mass select things, you can screw yourself and leave a good gun in your unreachable inventory and leave yourself with a bloody pea shooter instead of a plasma rifle. I'm of two minds about this inventory system. I won't say it's bad, since it does work, but I still would prefer to just hit a button and bring it up. Since this is an RPG, there is not a linear series of weapons, and what you carry and use is based upon your playstyle. My favorites are the plasma rifle and pistol, along with the Texas Cannon. It is a super powerful rifle that shoots big-ass bullets from a cylinder, and it is pretty much a one-hit kill on the weaker enemies, and in some ways it's more powerful than the plasma weapons. Each gun can be upgraded with new sights, barrels, and suppressors, and since this is the 41st millennium, the ATF has finally been disbanded by the Emperor as a pack of heretics, and now you can put stocks on short-barreled rifles without penalty or filing an FA paperwork. Some of the stocks are a bit silly, as some can reduce the accuracy. Sure they do. They must have been manufactured by ATI. Throughout the game, you will always have your bounty killer's signature weapon, the revolver. You can upgrade it, but you can never get rid of it. Somewhat similar to how in Warhammer 40k Fire Warrior, you always had to have that one Tau weapon, but thankfully, unlike in Fire Warrior, there is no two-weapon rule. By the Omnissiah's grace, this revolver is a good gun, but it's one of those weird revolvers that has detachable cylinders instead of speed loaders. Is our dude here just carrying a pocket full of cylinders? Seems a bit inefficient, but then again, this is the 41st millennium after all. Before each mission, the game expects you to buy the essentials such as medkits, and woe betide anyone who does not, because you'll die fast without them. The levels are structured in such a way that inter-level checkpoints are unneeded, but you cannot just save wherever you want. Remember, rock hard Euro game. The Euros let you pick up right after you get killed, but it's gonna cost you. You have what are called stims. You can carry 3 at any one time, and you can expect to find 1 or 2 here and there in the levels themselves, but if you really suck like me, you gotta shell out that hard-earned dosh and buy them. You can come across these little stores that will let you return to HQ or buy stims, and this is how you can keep progressing if you die a bunch. This truly is a boon of the machine god. It makes dying a bad thing, and thus makes you get that gamer sweat when the baddies are amassing for that big ass attack, but it is tempered by not making progression tedious, and it's the best of both worlds. You want to try harder in the game so you can keep more dosh, but you won't throw the controller down in frustration because one bastard shot you in the foot from 3 miles out. If you die without stims, you go back to the start of the level. But if you keep up with your drug levels, that won't happen. Levels are selected from a mission select screen in the hub of Martyr's End. Not only do you have campaign missions, you get a few side missions that allow you to earn extra dosh, and believe me, you will need it. In these side missions, you will also get plenty of rare loot, and believe me, you're gonna need it. Side missions are divided into A, B, and S ranks. Never really got why S was better than A rank, but I guess if it's good enough for glorious Nippon, it's good enough for Europe. These side missions can either be super easier or rock hard. An S mission can potentially be a piece of cake with easy to reach objectives, and a super low paying B mission can be bloody impossible with constantly swarming enemies. I love the addition of these missions as they give this game the longevity it deserves. The base gunplay in the game is really bloody fun with varied and challenging enemies, but even the best campaign can get old after a while. With these side missions, this game can kind of be a forever game like Doom or AVP Classic 2000. In those games, you can just go in and kill shit while listening to a podcast or music. And the same is true with these side missions in Necromunda Hired Gun. No story to pay attention to, just your dude, a rifle, and a bunch of hapless gangers to multiply. Thank you, Strumon Studio, for being so awesome and finally getting a budget. This is not Strumon Studio First Space Rodeo, not by a long shot. Hell, on their Steam page, all you find are 40k first-person shooters. However, this is by far their best game. Strumon Studio first claim to fame was the totally not 40k please don't sue us G-dubs I Divine Cybermancy. One could consider it the spiritual predecessor to this game, but old I Divine had a fraction of the budget and 10 times the jank, and you can really tell that Strumon Studio learned from their experiences making I Divine Cybermancy. All the special abilities in Necromunda Hired Gun actually make sense, whereas the ones in I Divine Cybermancy required a 58-page manual. The story in Necromunda Hired Gun, while not particularly simple and filled with a bunch of factions, at least makes sense instead of being some weird William Gibson hallucination. The only jank I found in this game are a few spotty animations and the frame rate. Optimization for Necromunda is spotty to say the least, and you will likely have frame drops all the bloody time. Nothing unplayable like certain other Cyberpunk games, but still noticeable. The gameplay you're seeing here is filled to the brim with hitching and skips and things of that nature. When I was playing the game, this didn't happen. Likely all of the hitching you're seeing in the gameplay footage was due to OBS freaking out due to the variable frame rate and not being sure what it was supposed to be recording at. When you play the game, you shouldn't have this level of hitching, although I have heard that the hitching can get this bad on some systems. I'm willing to give the tiny team in France a bit of slack though. I had one crash to desktop when trying to return to HQ mid-mission, but after patch 1, this has ceased. You can Alt-Tab without the game freaking out, unlike certain Bethesda games, but you may have to click out and back in to make the sound work again. The FOV could be better as it maxes out at 90, and everything has that console zoom, but that's not unplayable either. Graphically, the game looks like the shining glory of the machine god, with all sorts of excellent details and some nice pitch black 40k humor to be found here and there. The designs of the levels have the great grease punk that Necromunda and 40k should have, but it thankfully doesn't look like a tech priest vomited 2 Radio Shacks in a junkyard on the screen, and the levels are nice and distinct from one another. Enemy design is pretty damn sweet as well, with some of the gangers you will be slaying sporting spiffy 80s mohawks, and the enemies all have nice variety to them. The Ogrins could look a little bit better as they look like they came straight out of 2012. Controls for the game are good enough, but when using a controller, those special abilities are a little bit awkward to use as you have to bring up a wheel and then activate them all in real time, meaning you have a good chance of accidentally activating the wrong one or getting killed while trying to select one. Still though, for all the abilities that you have, the game controls remarkably well with a controller all the same. Music for the game is mixed. You get a lot of orchestral chanty 40k music, and then in some epic moments you have some great generic rock. This lack of musical variety is likely due to the small team. What they have is good, even if it doesn't stand out that much from the pack. Sound design is as good as it can be, since only one guy was tasked with working on it. The weapons sound okay, and the cutscenes are more audible than Thief 4's, but you still will need to use closed captioning to follow along with the plot. The voice acting is another great aspect of the game. The VA work shows what you can do with little money, but a lot of talent. Everyone turns in a great performance on par with a bloody animated movie. Necromunda gives you the option to pick between a male or female character, and you have a number of different templates to choose from. Whichever gender you pick will have their own voice actor. I have not played this game as a female yet, but having played it as a mighty masculine male of manliness, you sound a lot like the old Jason Statham, and he does bring that harsh energy. Necromunda is an excellent setting for Strumon Studio to set their Warhammer FPS. We have had our fill of Spec Marines and Blue Weeb Warriors, and a high-concept game wherein you play an Inquisitor fighting Space Cthulhu. While cool in theory and possibly in practice, that game would be a bit lofty and hard to understand. Putting the game on below ground level means that non-40k fans can sink their teeth into the universe. It also doesn't hurt that Necromunda is a pure cyberpunk setting. Don't you just love 40k? You can have some of that great comic book level action with Spec Marines, and then you can have cosmic horror with Spec Marines or Inquisitors, and finally you can have cyberpunk all in the same universe. Like Star Wars, only with more adamantine balls. Necromunda is a planet in the Segmentum Solar. Once it was the capital world of a small stellar empire, but due to a foul Xenos invasion, that empire was thrown down and the planet of Necromunda raised. Now in the 41st millennium, hives, massive cities cover the entire globe. The meat of the game takes place in the Underhive, a place where the trash and effluvium is flushed to rot. The Underhive is a world of violence and despair, and unto this is you, a bounty hunter. You hunt down those who have broken the Imperium's laws. On a mission gone bad, you are rescued by the son of Necromunda's ruler, Cal Jericho. You are rebuilt with augmentics, and you even get a rare cerebral implant installed. You did ask for this, but you could have paid to upgrade it. You now have a mystery on your hands. Who kicked the crap out of you, and what do they want? By Chapter 5, the plot thickens. There is a section of the Hive wherein some crazy crap is going down. Are you a bad enough Jason Statham to solve the mystery and get the big bucks? By the great Space Talos, is this a great bloody game? There are times when I wonder if at the lofty age of 32, I have outgrown gaming. Then I finally get a good one and remember why I started gaming in the first place. Necromunda Hired Gun has it all. Great gameplay, good graphics, and a story that is memorable. What's best about this game is that it's an adventure. In the past, games were not meant to be played once and then discarded. They were epic journeys that you played over and over again. The plots weren't spoiled in the first 5 minutes, and you had to learn how to play the game in order to survive. Strumon Studio, like Arcane Studios and other small devs, remembered what games were supposed to be. Epic tales, not just games as a service. This game is certainly an Alpha Prime game and is well worth the price of admission. Now if you'll excuse me, it's time to get back to slaying and praying. I'm GeneralLotz, and I'm wishing you good Spec Marine, Captain Titus for life. Make that man a Primaris already, Gilliman, and good Firewar, you go Weeby my dude, whatever makes you happy. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing, and if you can, please consider supporting me on Patreon so that I can continue bringing you this great content.